Being a physician gives Rand a unique perspective in Washington, simply because he's trained to diagnose a problem and find a solution. He truly believes that if you believe in something, you should get involved. If you put your mind and your energy to it, you can do it. And I think that's a great example for our kids. And it's also something that makes him an amazing person to be married to.
All right, that, of course, is Mrs. Rand Paul. We did a Gimme 5 with her, and joining us now is Richard Noyes, Research Director for Media Research Center and a Senior Editor at NewsBusters.org. And Richard, boy, if only she could be the lone spokesperson doing stories and talking about her husband. But the media, of course, as they did with Ted Cruz, will be out looking for anything and everything on Rand Paul, who announced yesterday, as they will be down the road when others announce. How have they treated him so far, do you believe?
Well, I mean, over the years, they portrayed him as sort of this exotic, libertarian type candidate. They called him a sexist when it comes to raising the Clinton scandals. He's a racist because he supports the Civil Rights Act of 1964, but not exactly the same way that liberals do. So, that wasn't good enough for them. He wants to cut government spending, which we all know is heartless and a terrible thing to do. The rollout of this campaign has been a little bit more positive. I think compared to Ted Cruz, they like Rand Paul better. They sort of found a couple issues where he seems to agree more with President Obama. Well, that makes him refreshing from the media's point of view. It was interesting when the morning Ted Cruz announced, he got 13 conservative labels on ABC, CBS, NBC just that morning, which was a way to really put him in the ideological cubbyhole. Rand Paul, when he announced, he got none that day, one in the evening newscast. So I think that's sort of a different way of treating them, even though if you look at the way the ACO, American Conservative Union, rates their votes and lifetime scores, they're virtually indistinguishable. 100% conservative rating for Ted Cruz, 98.7 for Rand Paul. So, almost a minuscule difference, and yet a difference in the way the networks are treating the two of them.
Ted Cruz has a great personal story. Marco Rubio has a great personal story, which the media doesn't tell. And of course, if you watch the whole video, as I watched most of that video made by Mrs. Paul, she talks about her husband going to Guatemala and performing about 100 or more operations on people on their eyes. One man in particular who hadn't seen his wife in 7 years. He had cataracts, and the joy, when those cataracts came off and were operated on. These are storylines that I believe truly that if these were Democratic candidates with the liberal story, liberal ideals, we would know all about these things.
Oh yeah, I mean, the Rand Paul story, tells you that compassion comes from sources other than government sometimes. And of course, liberals want to think you need government to have any compassion at all. So I think, the more these stories are told, the better it will be. Rand Paul was on the Today Show this morning, and he got into it with Savannah Guthrie, who kept trying to sort of paint him as a flip-flopper, changing his position. She called him unorthodox, his political views. Hillary Clinton's going to announce fairly soon, this week, next week, maybe the week after. And my guess is you will not get any of these ideological labels. She will not be portrayed as unorthodox, and you're going to get a much more positive human interest story from her, even though she's got sort of a much more, let's say, confused family life than these other candidates.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But as there's a story out today, of course, saying don't call Hillary by her first name anymore because that's sexist. I guess you got to call her what? Madam Secretary, Senator, Mrs. Clinton. But that flies in the face, really, of Hillary going out and meeting the people, because they're apt to call her Hillary, certainly. Anyway, Richard, great work, and keep it up. We'll have you back, I'm sure, as the media onslaught is just getting underway when it comes to Republican presidential candidates.
All right, we'll do. Thanks.
All right, Richard Noyes, ladies and gentlemen. All right, folks, due to popular demand, by the way, up next we're going to talk about that Russian hacking of the White House with Maddie Kahn. But we're bringing back our viewer call-in segment here on the Steve Malzberg Show. So if you love the show, hate the show, want to just weigh in on any of the issues of the day, here's what you do. You just can't call in and Skype in when we start. You have to register in advance. So you email me at callsteve at newsmax.com. Call Steve, and there it is on the screen. Boy, look at me over there. Call Steve at newsmax.com, and you put your name, your phone number, your location, and someone on our staff will get back in touch with you. Again, one more time, call Steve at newsmax.com, and you could do that now.